Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to Inside LSU Baseball. I'm your host, Jason Armstrong, and the Tigers are coming off of a weekend series against the Omaha Mavericks where they took 2 out of 3. There's a lot to talk about, so we're going to jump in and we're going to start with just a quick summary of the weekend, and then we're going to talk about the thing that I think has a lot of LSU fans maybe a little emotional, maybe a little concerned, and that's the offense. All right. So on the weekend, you know, just a quick summary. Game one, the Tigers. It was like the Tigers were never really in danger of losing that game, although it was close. I mean, you had a 2-0 game, I believe, and wound up finishing 4-2. I think LSU went up 4-0, wound up winning 4-2. Yeah, Jake Brown had like an RBI single. Luis Hernandez had a double that drove in a run, and you had a couple other runs driven in, sac flies, ground out, things like that. Um, Game two, and I'm going to get to the pitching in the second part of the episode. But the pitching was really good all weekend except for one inning. Um, Game two, well, let me back up. Game one, you didn't score a run. I think it was like after the um, let's see. I want to say after like that you scored all your runs from inning. Let's see here. So you didn't score the seventh in. No, that's Omaha. Yeah, sixth inning on, you did not score. Okay, so you win game one 4-2, and you go sixth inning, seventh inning, eighth inning, ninth inning, no runs. Then you go to Saturday, game one of the doubleheader, and the issue there is you don't have a hit. Eighth inning, you don't have one hit until Ashton Larson gets a hit. Story of that game again, they had the Mavericks had a 5-run inning. I want to say it was like the seventh inning of the game, and and that was a dagger because although LSU tried to come back and they put up a valiant effort in the ninth inning and scored 4 runs in the dang ninth inning, it wasn't enough. And that's the game I think that everybody was just very worried about because again, you didn't score the last 3 innings of game one, even though you pulled out a win, and then you don't score until the ninth inning of game two. So that's a pretty significant drought of just nothing happening. Okay, no runs. So you try to mount a comeback, you fall up, a run short, so you lose game two, 5-4. And then game three, you really put it on them. Jared Jones drove in 5 runs. You had good pitching again all weekend, and you were just too much. You win uh, game two of the doubleheader, which was essentially the rubber match, 12-1. Okay, so as I'm on Twitter and reading different things, lots of LSU fans are sounding off. They're concerned, and I think that there's some reason to be concerned when you're watching a team play against somebody that they should be putting away and they're just not. All right. But as I usually am, I would caution you to be patient. And I'm going to give you just a little bit of data um, to back up why I am not jumping, off the ledge after seeing the Tigers um, not look their best on offense. Okay, certainly not what we're used to LSU being on offense. Okay, so for context, I just want to look around at some of the better teams in the country, which happen to be in the SEC, that have really good offenses. And let's just look at this time of year, what these teams did this weekend, all right, or over the last few days. So Texas is an offense that I think is one of the better offenses in the SEC. All right, Texas scored In their 3-game series, they scored 4 runs, 3 runs, and 4 runs. That's against Dartmouth. All right, Dartmouth is not one of the like best Ivy League schools. Um, Texas didn't score more than 4 runs. Okay, Texas A&M, the number 1 team in the country, that's got all that talent offensively. They scored 6 runs. They scored 4 runs, and then they scored 2 runs in a loss today against Cal Poly. All right. So in both of these cases, these are teams that Texas and Texas A&M were supposed to win these series. They weren't supposed to lose a game really. All right. Texas A&M. Listen to this. They were hitless for the final 6 innings of the game today that they lost. All right. Mississippi State. Mississippi State was shut out against Southern Miss 3-0 in a midweek game. Then game one, so they go from that to game one, and they're down to Missouri State. I mean, they wound up pulling it out. I think it was 3-1. They scored 3 runs. Okay. And then I could look at Arkansas. Arkansas was ready to fire their hitting coach, Friday night after they lost 3-2 to Kansas State. Then they come back and they beat TCU 3-2. Um, and I think that they actually played better competition, so maybe not lump Arkansas in. But again, not scoring a ton of runs right now. Even Tennessee. Tennessee played Samford, and I watched a lot of that that series. Um, Tennessee got everything they wanted for the first 2 games of that series. I mean, they won the game 5-1, and I live in Knoxville, so that field I can tell you, and this isn't me being a hater towards Tennessee, but that wind blows out all the time. You get the ball up in the air, it's gone. So Tennessee scored 5 runs game one. This is against Samford. And if they wasn't for getting the ball up in the air and the home run, I mean, it wasn't like they were killing the ball like they typically do. They won game two 7-3. That was a tie game late in the game. They wound up hitting like a pinch hit grand slam at the end of the game. Um, but again, uh, what am I trying to say? The weather, unless you played in like Jacksonville this weekend, like Alabama, and there's some cases, but for the most part, this is not the type of weather for an offense to prosper in. Okay, LSU was not the only offense to struggle against competition that really wasn't even on their level. So I just think that that's something to keep in mind. Now, are we going to talk about some concerns I have? Absolutely, 100%. And I'll tell you that one of the things that I don't love is when I look at the power um, from this LSU team. If I just look at some of the other teams, I mean, Tennessee's hit 19 home runs, I think, last count. That was as of today, halfway through that game. Georgia's got 15 home runs on the year. Florida's got 12. I mean, even A&M's got 9 or 10. LSU's got 5 home runs. Um, and I will tell you this, and I was telling somebody else this too, is that I'm not going to say it's the worst because we're so early in, but from like a pure pop, and like being able to impact the ball, hit the ball over the fence. Of Jay Johnson's, this is his 4th team since he's been at LSU, and I think this might be the one that, um, eh, out of all the teams, this is the one that just lacks that pop that a Jay Johnson offense usually has. Now, this might change, but what am I using to back that up this early in the season? I'm just looking at like the players. I mean, 2022, you've got a Dylan Cruz who's a 20 home run guy. You got a Jacob Berry who hit 15 home runs and he was injured. He missed a bunch of time. Cade Doty hit 14 home runs. You had Gavin Dugas on that team who had hit 19 in 2021, but he was injured in 2020. You had guys like star guys with power. 2023, the whole team could hit for power. I mean, you had Cruz back, you had Tommy White back, you had, oh, by the way, 2022, you had Joe Bear on that team who hit 18 home runs. He's back in 2023. K. Beloso hit like 16 home runs. Dugas had a great year, hitting double, maybe 15 or 17 home runs. in 2023. Everybody had power that year, but you had those star players with power. You had Cruz and Tommy White. Last year, you still had Tommy White who hit what 24 home runs, and you had Bear Jones who hit 28, and you had Travinsky that if he touched the ball, it could go. He hit 16. You don't really have that this year from what I see. You've got Bear Jones, of course, but outside of him, until they do it, are they capable? Absolutely. You have guys who hit 18, 17 home runs last year on this team, not at LSU, but you've got that have some power. But you don't have those star players that any pitch, that they can touch one and leave the yard. So the team's just built differently this year. Maybe they're not going to be that team, that LSU team that we've been used to under Jay Johnson, that hits a lot of home runs, and that's okay. Um, the other thing that I'll point out is that even the 2023 team early in the year, one of the gripes people had is that they would strike out a lot, and that was one of the trade-offs for the Powers. That you would see, I don't know if it was against like Texas where they had a lot of strikeouts that game, and Dugas wound up hitting the home run to win the game late in the game against LeBaron Johnson, started that game for Texas. But LSU would have games where they would strike out a lot. It's not like this weekend LSU was striking out a ton. It wasn't that. It was, and that's the kind of thing that makes me almost feel a little better that a lot of it was the weather, is because a lot of these balls, people were getting jammed. They were hitting fly balls that were not carrying, that were getting off the hand. The ball just was not carrying. A lot of times, I would say a lot because there wasn't a lot of hard contact in some of these games, but somebody would put the bat on the ball and it just really wouldn't go anywhere. Um, and so that's something to keep in mind. So I know none of us like to watch this offense and go, man, what is going on? This is the number 2 team in the country, or number 3, the best transfer portal class, the best freshman class. Why can't we hit? And so I do see a couple of guys that we really expected to maybe be something that right now they're not, and there's still time, guys. We're still 2 weeks into the season. But a couple of the guys that, and when I was talking about like kind of like a preview episode, one of the things I mentioned that I thought Michael Braswell had to get off to a fast start, because there's another player, Tanner Reeves, that hits left-handed, that can play the same position as Michael Braswell. I did not think that Dickinson would come out the lineup just because of the player he is and the potential. Milo's not coming out the lineup. Braswell's swing right now, um, it's very inside out. If you notice, everything Braswell hits right now is going to right field. It's these, and I don't care if they throw the ball inside or outside, he's hitting it to right field. When Braswell was at his best last year, you can go back to in Hoover, the the liner he hit over third base to essentially win the game versus South Carolina, the leadoff home run against, I think it was Georgia, that over the left center field wall, against Wofford, or yeah, I think it was Wofford. He hit the ball, the left center field home run. Um, he would pull the ball. Now, he hit the opposite field as well, but Michael Braswell was pulling the ball, and he was pulling the ball with some power. He's not pulling anything right now. Now, that's something that they can work on, and it's just something that I noticed. Um, and I saw it time and time again. I was like, man, his swing right now is not it. I told somebody, I said, man, I think him and Stanfield might not be in the lineup um, Saturday for game one. Stanfield was pulled. Braswell, I think, might have played game one, but not game. I can't remember, but both of them sat a game. So, but that's something I noticed. On Stanfield, I also, and Jay said this, but I noticed it. He looked very frustrated between at bats, like he just wasn't real confident. Now I like to see him coming back from being benched game two, and he had a good bunt, like a safety squeeze, and then he had a nice line drive between shortstop and third base. That was good. That he after sitting for a game. He got back in there and did a good job. But but I think that we're going to learn a whole lot about this offense in this coming week, and we're gonna get to that. But I would like to think that the weather conditions, the wind, I swear it seemed like the wind was blowing in or blowing towards right field the whole weekend, and just nothing anybody hit was going anywhere except for the 3-run home run for that the gentleman from the bad guys Omaha hit. That was really the one that carried a good bit. So I think we should just be patient as the season goes on. And this next week, if we still see a lot of these, I'll be the first one to say, look, maybe you know, maybe these guys just are going to need some time because coming in, I thought they were proven. I think you have guys that were proven, and this is the other thing. Jay is still moving a lot of guys around right now. It's hard to get in the groove sometimes. You sit a game, you start a game, you sit 2 games, you start a game, and that's just part of it. You got to do when you get in there, you got to do your thing. So as far as the offense is concerned, that's what I wanted to say about that. Um, we'll learn more this week, and we may be all eating our words. If we come out the gate, we start hitting the ball hard. I mean, it's not like the LSU's been on a 2-week offensive drought. It was just that into game one, game two, where I think it got a lot of people's attention. Now, let's talk about the good stuff. Let's talk about the pitching. All right. And I want to talk about the rotation first. The rotation was really the bright spot of this team. I mean, we get lost in the fact that the offense struggled and we lost a game to Omaha, but the starting rotation a lot of times is what carries a team. And the rotation was awesome. I mean, Cade Anderson set the tone game one, um, and he pretty much dominated. I mean, he threw 5 1/3, gave up, 3 hits, 8 strikeouts, lots of strikes. The biggest thing I noticed about Cade Anderson this week compared to his first start was the the difference in the pitches he was throwing. I came on here, I think it was last podcast, and I talked about in Cade Anderson's first start. I saw a fastball and everything was a slider. He threw one curveball, that 75-ish, 77 mile per hour curveball, which is what he threw last year. Last year he didn't throw a slider. It was all fastball and the big curveball. Last week it was fastball and slider. And I talked about how I thought it would be important as the season goes on that he develops a third pitch. Well, guess what? This week, not only did he throw the fastball and the slider, but he incorporated the big slow curveball many times. And then he even started going to the changeup, which was phenomenal against right-handed hitters. He was getting that changeup, low and away. And this Cade Anderson right now, the way he's throwing, and again, I'm not just looking at results like, oh, he threw 5 innings, only gave up 2 hits. I'm talking about the way he used those 4 pitches. This is like a easy first round pick at this rate with those pitches. There's pitchers that go a whole season and have great years off of 2 pitches. Starters that throw 2 pitches mostly. So to be able to command all of those pitches, I was really, really, really excited about that, about Cade Anderson. Staying on the starters, game two, Anthony Ianton. Now, I will be the first one to tell you, and I don't know if it came out in my voice when I discussed the Ianton's uh, outing last week, but I gotta be honest, I wasn't really blown away with Anthony Ianton's first start. I thought he was much better this weekend. And oddly enough, this is the game that LSU lost. But Ianton, they didn't lose because of Ianton. Ianton threw 6 innings, only gave up 3 hits, 7 strikeouts. This is something else I said about his first appearance is that he wasn't getting any swing and miss on his fastball at all. His first start. he did get a lot of that. And then, now I'll tell you a big difference was I think against who was it we opened up against? The Purdue Fort Wayne. They had a lot of lefties in the lineup. This one he faced, there was more right-handed, I think, from just going by my perception, than Fort Wayne had. So that curveball he throws is really a nice pitch. I mean, it's a true curveball. Um, I think like mid to high 70s. It's not a slider, and he pitches off of that. So when he shows that pitch a couple times and he comes back with the fastball, a lot of times guys are late on it, and you're like, that was only 91. And that's a thing with Ianson. He came out the gate in the first inning of his first start with 95. Then you never saw anything close to that. It was all 92, 91, 93. This game too, it was a lot of the 91s. Um, but the his ability to throw that big breaking curveball, what it kind of reminds me of? If you remember in 2022, he had a pretty good year. Wasn't the greatest year in 2023 as Bryce Bryce Collins, the guy who came over with Jay from Arizona. He would get in love with that curveball and he would just throw it over and over and over. But when he threw a fastball, it wasn't a bad fastball. Now Anthony On's a different pitcher. He's got much better control, but kind of reminds me of that slow, really nice big breaking curveball, and then the fastball in the low 90s. Uh, Ianson kind of reminds me of that. But I thought that Ianson made a big jump from his first outing to his second outing. And I mean, look, that what I saw, just the way he was locating the fastball on the outside, even though it wasn't like total gas or anything like that, um, that was promising. That was promising. I like the way that he used his pitches. It was still mostly two pitches. I think he would benefit from something harder, a slider, or even a changeup. Every now and then he'll throw something. I think they call it a split finger. I don't think he had great command of it. But anyway, that was a good. I was happy with Anthony Ionson's progress from one outing to the next. Now Chase Shores was great. I mean, Chase Shores looked really good, and the really promising thing about Chase Shores, his first outing basically threw two pitches. Okay, but when you throw 95 to 97, you can kind of get away with that. Chase Shores went 5 innings, two walks, six strikeouts, didn't give up a run. So 3 hits, no runs. So um, in the way he did it, it's not like he's just dependent on blowing the fastball by people. Because really, as the innings went on, I mean, he was 94, 95. He could reach back and get a 96, but it's not like he's relying solely on overpowering lesser opponents with his fastball. His slider right now looks really sharp. I mean, really sharp. And I did see him throw some of those changeups to the left-handed batters, which, again, I mentioned this in 2023 before he got hurt. That was something that we saw from him. So love to see him get back to that. But this is what I expect out of Shores. I expect every outing for him to get a little bit better, a little bit better. Um, but that's promising. So when you got a rotation like Cade Anderson, who can go toe to toe with any Friday night guy in the league, Anthony Ianson, and Chase Shores, I think you're going to be all right. Now, I don't know if that's the Ianson and Shores stay Saturday, Sunday like they are now, but who knows? But with those three guys throwing, you're going to be in good shape. And again, the story of the weekend was, I mean, LSU gave up, 2 runs, 5 runs, and 1 run. They didn't give up many runs. They gave up a 5-run inning in game two. Outside of that, that's the only bad inning that they had all weekend. So, but other than that one inning, I mean, all the relievers who came in, I mean, Connor Benja's first appearance, again, did his job. And honestly, the game that LSU lost, he came in and he almost got himself out of. So Fontenot comes in, he hits 2 guys. Ben struck out 2 before. He did give up a hit. a single. I don't remember how many runs scored on that play. Maybe two runs. Oh no, he gave up a run on a single. Then there was like a wild pitch pass ball. I don't remember how they scored it. Another run scored. He got two strikeouts, and then he gave up the 3-run home run. So he almost got out of it. I don't think that Binge is like you know hurt his chances of being in those situations again. But you know, he was really good game one when he came in. Maverick Rizzi was effective again. Um, faced four guys, struck one out, but he was effective. Casey Evans, I'm not going to go on my soapbox about Casey Evans again. Through 2 innings, got the save, I believe, 5 strikeouts. Nobody even got a hit off of him. So he did a great job. So the relievers are just very strong. This is a situation where like your starting pitching is getting you into the sixth inning, and then you've got these guys that uh, Jay's running out there that he's got a lot of trust in right now. Game two, the relievers that he went to. Grant Fontenot was unfortunate. He got 0-2 and then he hit a guy, and I hate to see that for him because he couldn't find his breaking ball. I don't even think he threw a fastball if I'm remembering correctly, or maybe he did. That's what he hit the second guy on. But again, Binge, I talked about him. Cooper Williams though came in and threw the last 2 innings of that um, and looked really good. I mean, that's a pitcher. He can throw the fastball. He can command it inside, outside. He's got that nice curveball he can throw anytime. I like Cooper Williams a lot. I think he's going to be effective because this is not a staff with a lot of lefties on it, especially if you're starting Anderson. That means you got three lefties to get through 3 games. Three relievers to bring in. So that was game two, the guys that you brought in. And then game three, the relievers that we saw were Cowan. Zach Cowan was really good. I like him. One thing he does that you don't see a lot is that he can go righty facing a right-handed batter and he can throw that straight change. You don't see that a lot. You typically see, a right-hander throw a change up to a left-handed hitter. He throws it to a right-handed hitter and puts it on the outside corner. That's really effective. That guy's good. He's not going to overpower you, but I love the way that Jay followed Chase Shores throwing 95 to 98 with Zach Cowan, who's really his best pitch is that changeup. And then I liked how he followed him with Jacob Myers. The only problem with that is that Jacob Myers, he hit two guys. I think he walked a guy, or when he throws the ball anywhere near the plate, like he gets a lot of swing and miss. I think it would help him to not get behind like that because then he's all fastball. He's going to have to be able to throw something breaking ball to keep people honest. But it wasn't a great outing for him. But he did come back. He got 2 strikeouts, so at least he ended strong. But wasn't the wasn't his best performance there. And then you saw DJ Primo got a batter out, Jaden Newt got a batter out. So as far as the relievers went, everybody was solid other than that 1 inning. So that's really the strength. That's what we thought was going to be the strength of this team was the pitching, and it is 100% looking like that right now. So this circle of trust that Jay's got, these relievers, it's going to get smaller and smaller. But again, we talked about this. I still think you got more than like the typical 8 to 10. I think you got enough guys that 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 can help you. I mean, we Myers and Fontenot didn't probably have a confidence-inspiring performance, um, but I still think that you've got a number of guys. I mean, the fact that Jay, the first guy, like we haven't even seen Gavin Guidry yet. We haven't even seen him. Still haven't seen, and I don't know what the deal is, but we haven't seen Chandler Dorsey, who was South Florida's closer last year. Um, Still haven't seen him. But the fact that, when the game's on the line, um, he's done this a couple of times where Jay's brought in Connor Binns. If you would have said, hey, you got 8 guesses. Who's the guy you think Jay early in the season is going to go to first? I would not have picked Connor Binge. So it wouldn't. So that's pretty interesting. But he trusts Casey Evans. You know that he trusts. We didn't see William Smith this weekend at all. But he trusts him. He trusts Maverick Rizzi. So we're seeing a lot where Jay's head is. and I think he's going to keep going to these guys. I really don't know if maybe one guy on the staff that I don't know if he's redshirt and pitching or whatever the deal is, that I would be like, man, I don't know if that's the guy that you could put in the game at this moment. Everybody else, I think, you know, eh, can can do a certain job. Like Binge, I think Binge is like a one or two batter kind of guy. Um, and maybe that's something that we saw this weekend. Is the in spurts he's able to come in there and throw a certain type of fastball that runs in on you, and you just got a lot of guys that can accomplish. Get a guy, get one or two guys out, and then you've got the guys who can go longer. But you're going to see, as the competition gets better, probably guys get used a little bit more. But I still think there's so many arms um, that Jay can go to, and this staff is going to be the strength of the team. So let's now going back to the offense, because we're talking about the offense, and again, you would think that this offense is struggling terribly. There are some guys doing really well. Curiel's hitting 440 right now. Um, Stanfield, believe it or not, I mean, he's, got 7 hits on the year, hitting 368. Jerry Jones is doing a really nice job. Not so much like the power numbers, but, he's still hitting 348. He's got 8 hits on the year. He's got 6 bases on balls, which is really promising. That's a big thing for him. Jake Brown continues to be one of the hotter bats. I think Luis Hernandez had a good weekend. Stephen Milam came on strong that last game with 3 hits. He really needed that. Ashton Larson, I mean, the guy's hitting 357, but his on base percentage is like 550. I mean, he's got 5 bases on balls to go along with um, what's he got? Like 5 hits and 14 at bats. So there's guys doing a good job. It's just that when you needed it, then the pitching was pretty good. The way they saw a lot of off speed, the conditions, the weather, all of that. I think it all contributed to the Tigers not looking like world beaters. So the next 5 game, like the next 7 days, LSU is going to play 5 games. This is a big week. This is a week to get excited about if you're an LSU fan, because let me tell you, we're going to learn a lot about this team. Um, this isn't going to be, no more of this like, hey, hopefully it's a competitive game. We can see guys in. No. You've got 5 games in 7 days, and it starts Monday night against Nichols. Nichols is off to a good start. Actually, that game's at Alex Box now. Nichols is off to a good start. That's anytime you play in-state schools, it's always going to be a tough game. Um, and then Wednesday, you've got Dallas Baptist. Dallas Baptist, and I'm going to talk more um, about some of the competition. We're going to do another episode before the weekend. Um, but Dallas Baptist has got a tremendous lineup. They've got some experience. They've got some guys who can really hit the ball. Micah Bucknam, I don't know that he'll face LSU. They've got a couple of really good pitchers. Then again, it's midweek Wednesday, so we'll see. But again, that's going to be a really good test for the LSU pitchers, as well as the hitters, because they're going to have arms that they can run out at you. And then when we get to the weekend, um, I'm going to tell you right now, LSU is going to have its hands full with Kansas State. Because if Kansas State on Friday night throws Jacob Frost, the guy who pitched against Arkansas, this lefty is serious. And I can't. I think his name was Dean. I don't know why I want to say Blake Dean. Something. The guy that they brought in to close out the final few innings of that game against Arkansas that K State won. This guy was serious. He was a right-handed, had a nasty slider. Um, and if that's the best they got and you're getting them on Friday night, Kansas State is a tough team. I like their offense. They're very scrappy. That's going to be a great test for LSU. And then you turn around Saturday and you play Nebraska. And Nebraska, you're probably going to face Ty Horn, who pitched against Lafayette and threw 6 innings and only gave up like a couple of hits, couple runs. This guy's good. So you're going to face two really good pitchers. Um, Friday and Saturday, I don't know much about Sam Houston, to be honest with you. Dallas Baptist is going to have some good arms. So we're going to learn a whole lot about this LSU team in the coming over the next week. So you got 5 games, and I think it's going to be really interesting to see how these hitters battle, how some of these guys that maybe aren't off to the best start, you know, how do they bounce back? Also, when the weather's not terrible, and everybody's watching on a Wednesday night to get some really two good teams, Dallas Baptist and LSU, or next weekend when LSU's got tons of fans there watching them play, who kind of steps up? I think that LSU's really going to play a different brand of baseball when the competition steps up. But we're going to find out. So um, that's going to do it for this episode of Inside LSU Baseball. Just kind of reacting to LSU's winning 2 out of 3 series against Omaha. As always, thank you for joining me. And we will be back here with another episode probably after the 2 midweek games. So we'll see you soon. Thank you.